Welcome to the very 11th BriightCast episode.
It's an ethical one.
It is an ethical one.
It sure is.
Today we chat all about ethics in marketing, ethical marketing campaigns, ethical companies or companies that aren't ethical.
We discuss current marketing campaigns that are falling down different sides of the ethical tightrope. But we also look at, in the past, what we've done, how we might change that going forward, and just discuss really how it's a sliding scale.
So let's get started.
Let's jump in.
Welcome to the very 11th BriightCast.
It's going to be a good episode. And you know something that has 11 things in it? A football team. And right now there's a football tournament going on, which is related to our topic of ethics in marketing. But before we get to it, what have you been up to?
I did a studio shoot last week. I think in the last BriightCast I spoke through setting up the studio shoot. Shoot complete.
We did a few tests on the backdrop. We were going for that infinity white look.
Yeah, we got our setup honed. Setup was sweet. Setup was really good. And yeah, it went really, really well. Not dived into the post-production of it yet, so I'm hoping to jinx it as much as possible.
Yep.
But I don't think anything could make this video not look incredible.
Yeah. Challenge accepted.
And I'm so confident I'm not backing it up.
Editing in cam.
Yeah, there's going to be no autosaves in Premiere.
Yeah.
Really confident on this one. It's going to be amazing. Check back next episode to see if we've lost a client.
Yeah.
And just a little update, that was Drew's favourite client he's talking about. So
he's willing to put them on the line for a bit of content. That's good.
I know that he listens to these BriightCasts, so it's top 10 client.
That was interesting, wasn't it? Because that was the second client who mentioned they've listened to the podcast, and one in particular, I think it was episode 5, messaged me and said, "Oh, I'm on episode 5, and are we the client you spoke about turning up with like no sleep and ready to do the shoot?" But what was reassuring was we're super positive on this podcast, so it was actually about how it was great to step in and help them out. So
hey, they're also in top 10.
They are, yeah.
But I think we don't moan about clients.
No,
I think we might point out some little foibles every now and again. But the main thing is the clients that we work with consistently are clients that we like. If we didn't like them, we wouldn't work with them consistently.
Yeah, we're delivering on our promise, aren't we? Yeah. Insights from inside a visual marketing agency.
Yeah,
that's what we're doing.
Exactly.
Clients are part of it.
This week we spoke about a couple of podcasts ago, working on the strategy that's come to us. So we've been starting to look at the strategy report for them for next year. Also looking at their visual identity.
Yeah.
We've been working with the design teams to sort of enhance their current visual identity, including their logo and basically everything around that, including tone of voice and copy.
Yeah.
So it's just been really nice to sort of deep dive into their assets and see how we can flip it on its head, because they've been playing it quite safe in the market and they want to stand out. But something interesting with them is they want to stand out in the market, but their target audiences aren't Gen Z. They aren't people that you can kind of flip the marketing on its head completely.
What I've liked about the process is really challenging what their visual identity is. So what we're going to be presenting to them is quite a change.
Yeah.
And we have a saying here, which is better by comparison doesn't mean great necessarily. Definitely. And it's the Weatherspoon paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're comparing different Weatherspoons, but you're still in a bloody Weatherspoons, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely.
The interior's still pretty drab. It's still the same microwavable food. And hey, we love a microwave curry here.
Yeah.
Curry Club on a Monday or a Tuesday or a Wednesday.
I mean, it's Tuesdays today, so can we say Curry Club on a Tuesday?
Yeah. Well,
perfect.
Any day with a Y.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you comparing Weatherspoons to Weatherspoons, and it's, one might be better than the other, but it still doesn't make it a great place. Yeah.
Definitely.
Cool. What have you been on this week?
Well, this week I've really been thinking, and it's hit home, we just need to hire some new people. I've been out on productions, and really I'm on the marketing side with you and with the other people overseeing that stuff, and I've just been within productions, because I've been account managing those things, so it's led and it's been nice, but I've just, I think we need a production person. So let's put this on the pod, a production person first that can also do a bit of editing.
Yep.
I also think we need an editing person first that can also do a bit of production, because we need some bolster in there. We've got loads in post and we're doing the pod now and loads of other stuff. So we just need some talent to come in.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. And I'm going to date this right now. We're obviously chatting away on November the 22nd. So if anybody, genuinely is looking, or we know people who are looking, get in touch with us.
Yeah.
You can drop us an email to careers@bright, that's bright with 2 eyes.co.uk, careers@bright with 2 eyes.co.uk. Yeah, and let us know. We'll also be posting the ads out and stuff. But yeah, we're looking for some people to join the team.
Yeah.
But I think going back to your thing of you've been on lots of production, it's a byproduct of how we first started. So there was 3 of us when we first started, and we would all obviously do lots of production stuff. Small teams have to do loads of things.
Yeah, definitely.
You have to wear a lot of hats.
And it's nice having those soft skills that I can jump into those things to help out, but helping out too much. So I should be on other things. So let's get some talent in here.
So yeah, get in touch. careers@bright2eyes.co.uk. careers@bright.co.uk.
And if you want to know a bit about our values, maybe the main topic will shed a bit of light on that.
Yeah.
Which is ethics in marketing.
Great segue.
So I've been thinking about it mainly because Qatar's come up and the World Cup, and there's been lots of conversation around that. Any notable bits you want to mention around Qatar that you've seen?
I just keep getting Fire Festival flashbacks from looking at all of the visitor camp stuff.
Oh yeah.
£175 a night for
Yeah.
2 single beds and a set of drawers.
Yeah.
With no proper running water, I'm pretty sure.
One of my favourite bits is every morning they get instant coffee sachets, but there's no water.
Amazing. Yeah.
So what's happening there? You just Mr. Beaning it. Are you just shotgunning the sachet straight down?
I think you're just drug dealing it. You're like rubbing it into your gums.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Also, I watched one video where they were like, turns out in the morning, tents get hot. Yeah. You're in Qatar.
Yeah.
You're in a tent. It's going to be really, really hot.
Don't worry though, they've got fans just to blow around that hot heat.
Yeah.
Football fans.
Not football fans.
Yeah, but so some of the marketing campaigns I've seen, so Brewdog was the main one that I saw. Well, sorry, not the main, but the first one I saw. And, it was sponsors of the World F Up or whatever it was.
The Brewdog one, it's just because they tried to virtue signal loads themselves by saying that they're doing this, they're boycotting this World Cup,
positioning themselves holier than thou.
Yeah. But in doing it, obviously straight away the guy, what's his name, James something, he straight away on his LinkedIn, it was just full of but aren't you also going to play all the World Cup matches at your pubs? Aren't you also supplying alcohol to these regions anyway?
I don't like it as a marketing tactic anyway, to badmouth other people that are getting involved in areas you don't agree with. I don't like that tactic. But also, you've got to have some self-awareness that you're going to be putting yourself under a microscope here.
I think if you are genuinely untouchable in that, so as if, let's say they were boycotting it.
Yeah.
Let's say they weren't showing all of the matches at their bars.
Yep.
Let's say they aren't currently actually supplying alcohol to Qatar.
Yeah.
Let's say they're not doing all of those things. Then I think you could do that because you are, if we're looking at Joe Lycett, for instance, with his thing that he did with the shredding of £10,000, obviously, watch his actual video, you'll find out what actually happened with it.
Yeah.
But if you watch that, Joe Lycett, he is not in any way supporting Qatar.
No,
he's not.
Yeah,
he's not. Slagging off the World Cup and then doing a tour,
announcing a tour.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So he can do that. I think he is able to do that. He's at an ethical, standpoint where he can say those things. But I think if you are supplying alcohol to the country you're trying to slag off, or to the state that you're trying to slag off, you are showing those matches at your bars. I don't think you can then say you're boycotting it.
Yeah.
It's something that I wrote down and we'll talk about later about a brand that we've actually worked with. But to be ethical and to have ethical marketing campaigns, to shout about something you're doing and to come across as an ethical company and that you're doing good in the world, but then your core values and processes are everything against what you're actually promoting, it holds no value. People will then get more angry at you
Yeah.
because you're basically deceiving your audience because you're making out you're this good for nature and good force,
Yeah.
whereas actually you're just hiding the fact
Yeah.
you're doing
Yeah.
so much shit in the world.
I think as well, Brewdog, like it's so ill-judged because they're in the limelight anyway for, you know, all their employee handling things.
It seems like they've done this to try and come across as the good guys.
Yeah.
To come across like they're being amazing and their culture's great now.
And I think that's why it makes it worse because so it's one thing to put out a message where it is a bit of a contradiction and, you know, you might not remember that you sell to Qatar, but you've actually put thousands of pounds into this marketing campaign. So it's like, do your due diligence on your own company.
Yeah.
Is there any ethical marketing campaigns that have stuck in your minds or any ethical brands as such?
So I really liked, I know Patagonia made headlines recently with their, like, share with their employees and things like that. But before that, they put out a statement which I loved, which was about, so they got quite quickly to carbon neutral by planting trees and things. But they put out a statement to say, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's planting trees to compensate for damaging the environment isn't enough. It's about going back and seeing how you can avoid damaging the environment, basically. And I loved that they were taking that next step to really evaluate that because it's a good thing to still do. And we do it for people who pay invoices early, plant trees. Yeah. But it is, you can see how it could be exploited to greenwash certain things, you know.
Yeah, it's the version of like millionaires, billionaires taking private jets around, but then donating something to a carbon offsetting charity rather than just not taking your private jet to somewhere.
Honestly, I thought we'd done with Brewdog. That was their big accusation with their leaders.
Was it really?
Yeah, they do loads of carbon neutral stuff and a push towards it, but still taking private jets. I was thinking
about Leonardo DiCaprio. Was it? Did he talk at like one of the big like climate change events, but he took his private jet there? I might be wrong on the Leo accusation there, but I think it was something like that. There was a famous actor went to a climate change event, took a private jet. So if I did offend any Leo fans out there, catch me if you can.
Good joke.
Which is a reference to their film.
Good joke. The private jet to a summit thing is relevant because McDonald's sponsored COP26.
Yeah.
Was it COP26?
COP26, yeah.
And they're, you know, not good environmental people traditionally.
Before we move on to McDonald's, though, let's go back to the
Patagonia.
Can never pronounce their brand, but they did a campaign recently, which I've got here, and we'll pop the sort of imagery up on the video. But it was a campaign that basically said, "Don't buy this jacket." But it was around Black Friday and how every retail business used Black Friday to increase sales. Yeah. Obviously, they're creating discounts to spike sales type thing.
Allegedly.
But they did this campaign to basically say, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do a Black Friday sale. We're not going to increase you to buy things from us for the sake of buying things. Yeah. It's, you need to take time and consideration into what you're buying, and buying a jacket for the reason you need a jacket. You've done research into this jacket. It's going to last you a long time. And they did this pledge, and it was basically reduce, rewear, reuse, recycle. And it was basically saying a pledge that they're going to do and a pledge that people that buy from them are going to do.
Right.
So, for example, for the repair one, for example, the pledge they're going to do is repair anything that's broken. So I think if your jacket breaks, you can take it back to them to get repaired.
Yeah.
And the pledge from the buyer is you will fix your jacket rather than just getting rid of it and getting a new one. Yeah. So I really liked the campaign, and it fits in with the ethics that they're trying to have and their values, rather than it just being for the sake of boosting sales.
Yeah, because I think their slogan, either definitely then, but it probably still is something like the greenest products are those that already exist.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's like a really, really interesting campaign around that coat. So from one Big Mac to another, shall we finally chat about McDonald's?
Yes, we shall.
We've done a little bit of work with McDonald's to create some billboards around how they reuse oil for their lorries and how they're ethical in that standpoint. But would you say would work with McDonald's going forward, do you think?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I would love to say no, we wouldn't, because, you know, they definitely are responsible for mass deforestation.
Yeah.
plastics in the ocean, all that stuff.
And by virtue of them, they need a lot of beef. Biggest contributor
towards
yeah.
But I don't know. Like I think the ethical question that we're like delving into right now, or just today in this BriightCast, it's grey, isn't it? Everything to do with ethics is grey.
Yeah,
and it's not because we don't understand what is right and what is wrong, but it's because everything has a sliding scale.
Yeah.
Yeah, early on in the Future Proof Film days, we ended up doing a video for a client that we thought was all about making like fun, engaging nights out even better, making these like night outs even better. So the gig was to go to a random walkabout in Sheffield. And side note, but this is after a full day's filming in London. So it was a tremendous day of filming. Very, very tired. Drove all the way up to Sheffield, and it was filming people playing like kind of like his and hers, or like, you know,
Mr. and Mrs. games. That's what it was.
Mr. and Mrs. Those kinds of games on a night out, wasn't it? That's what it was. And that's what we were told. So we ended up filming it all. And then when we got there, we're like, oh, go and film outside. There's a guy outside like selling stuff. And we're like, okay, cool. And it's also to do with cigarettes. It's also to do with smoking. And like, I'm anti-smoking. I don't smoke.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of smoking, just because I had friends like growing up, and they wanted to get into it because they thought it was dead cool, and they got into smoking, and like they just got like health issues and stuff now. It's just, you know, just don't smoke. That's my standpoint on it. From an ethical point of view, I don't like it. So that was like not cool. Suddenly we're like, oh crap. But it was in our early days, and we rolled with it. And
attitudes can change as well, right? So in the 60s, if you're looking at Mad Men, a cigarette marketing advertising campaign would be really sought after. You'd be like, oh wow, we got the bloody beep. I was going to say Lambert and Butler. It just suddenly
felt a bit sordid, didn't it?
It did, yeah.
But we didn't do any more work for them. So then we decided if companies like that come to us again, it'll be a no.
Yeah.
But then you get other companies, you know, let's look at, would you work for Amazon, knowing that, you know, in America especially, there's lots of like poor working conditions and stuff like that. There's always like sliding scales. Obviously, when we look at like the far end of it, where it's places like Qatar, where the state commits these human rights violations, or then you look at these companies where parts of the company have these bad reps, be it on one side it's, you know, poor working conditions. Let's say they're making you take a piss in a can. On the other side, it's child slavery.
Yeah.
There's all these grey areas. So with the McDonald's thing, it gets super, super grey, because at the same time, I still eat the nuggets. I still like eating the nuggets.
And that's my point, really, because I don't eat meat mostly for environmental reasons, but I do contribute to McDonald's because I'll have a McPlant, you know, and I probably shouldn't. And to answer the question, I probably wouldn't want to do work for them again. If it came up, you know, we'd have that conversation, I think, and maybe to the team as well. It's probably important to bring other people's opinions in as well, because, you know, it's a democracy and everyone should have their values and beliefs represented and their input. And I think that's fine. And I guess the question is as well, how much of an onus is on us as a marketing agency, or for other companies, how much of an onus is on them to do their due diligence on a company that they're going to work with? I mean, Qatar's quite easy because it's so public right now, but you know, other companies you might not know or be aware.
So McDonald's ran a campaign called, the reason I asked, McDonald's ran a campaign called Map My McDonald's.
Yeah.
And it was basically an interactive website which kind of you can track where the meat was sourced from, what factories it's been to, and basically from start to finish where your McDonald's has come from. Yeah. And it's kind of showing the ethical standpoint of ethically sourced meat and et cetera, et cetera. And it came from a place of them getting loads of negative reviews in terms of things are cheap, so they expect it to be poor quality and it have a negative impact from the environment. But from that campaign, they got a 62% increase in loyalty from customers.
Right.
And it had a massive positive impact on their brand. But then it comes from a place where we kind of spoke about earlier. Can that hide the bad you're doing?
Yeah.
So even though you're doing good, and I know McDonald's are putting a massive impact on trying to be better.
They've made efforts on it, yes,
and in all aspects of their business, but there's still a lot more that they can do.
Yeah.
So when they create campaigns like this, it is good to highlight the good they're doing, but they're still kind of clouding the judgment of all the bad they're still
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
and not improving on.
Yeah, it's one good thing about Qatar being under the spotlight so much is you'd hope that, you know, there's more attention to it so things can happen and be improved. And it's probably what's happened with McDonald's. They had loads of that negative publicity and then they've taken steps to do it. But the cynic is like they got caught. Like had that not happened, would they just continue, you know, doing ill?
Yeah, I don't think Qatar as a state is going to change its laws because of any negative marketing around this World Cup. They're getting loads of money for it, and then afterwards it's done, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think there's been some improvements in working conditions and things like that, but you don't know, do you?
But yeah, staying on McDonald's for a second, talking about the whole grey area, putting it to the team.
Yeah.
You know, looking at each project from like an ethical standpoint. Would we do this work for them? Is it marketing for them? Is it just L&D? Is saying just L&D, is that any different?
Yeah.
Trying to get this kind of like, you know, real kind of like moral, not superiority, because I don't think it's you're being morally superior by trying to do good. I think you're just being morally good. I think we need to individually look at each of our moral goodness in relation to McDonald's, and I think I am the most morally good.
All right.
Explain.
Because I took a stand once against McDonald's and crashed into one.
Yeah.
And I think that was my McActivism against them.
In your defense, though, you said that McDonald's came out of nowhere.
I did say that to a guy who came out, because this did happen. Crashed into a Macca's. To be fair to me, in my defense, I was at a bar all day.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't drinking. I was
You were filming.
We were
You were
filming, so
filming.
we obviously wasn't drinking. Yeah, I did say, you came out of nowhere, and the guy just looked so angry.
Yeah, I mean, you had
get the
still
joke.
crashed into his building.
Yeah.
So when I think of an ethical company, the one that springs to mind quite quickly is Tom's Shoes.
Yep.
And
The buy one, give one.
they've been ethical for as long as I can remember. Like, I remember when I was 12 and wanted Tom's Shoes, and the whole thing was that they was ethically sourced and they did amazing things for charity.
Yeah.
And they ran a campaign recently, I say recent, I think it was 2015 maybe,
Mm-hmm.
where they asked people to post pictures of bare feet on Instagram. And why are you laughing at me?
Because I have a great Tom story to do with this campaign, but you finish your point and then I'll do my story.
So it was posting bare feet on Instagram, and the hashtag was something like no shoes for someone else. I can't remember the hashtag specifically.
Yep.
But it was posting the image, and then for every image that was posted, Tom's would donate a pair of shoes to someone else.
Nice.
So it was at no cost to yourself. It was just posting an image of your feet on Instagram.
I mean, they're
for a
making
picture.
millions, right, with the selling feet pics.
I mean, in this current climate, they couldn't do that campaign. But
Guys, spoilers, that's my story.
Really?
go on.
So obviously during the campaign,
Yeah.
getting people to post photos of their bare feet, and in return they would do a great deed.
Yeah.
Obviously, loads of people out there with foot fetishes. You
Yeah.
know, our main man Tarantino is one of the big dogs in the foot fetish world. And I worked with a guy, and we always thought he was a little bit odd. Not odd, but like he was a nice guy, but there's just something about him, just a little something about him we were never sure on. Anyway, fast forward, one day I'm with my now wife, back then just girlfriend. We're at her brother's flat in Sheffield.
Yeah.
Went there for a night out, met up with a bunch of our like mates and stuff. And there was one girl who was with us, and she was like, "Oh, do you know this guy?" I was like, "Yeah, I know that guy." She's like, "Oh, that's cool. Yeah, he works for Tom's." I was like, "He doesn't work for Tom's. He works with me at a cinema." No, he works for Tom's. No, he definitely doesn't work for Tom's. Oh, right, because he's been messaging me, and apparently he's messaged loads of people. He's going around doing a big push. Rather than you sending a photo and sharing it on Instagram, he's just getting the photos for you.
No
So
way.
you know, you just send him some photos of your feet, or maybe he comes around and takes a couple of photos.
Yeah.
And Tom's will do their thing. He was just fully capitalizing on it.
Jesus.
You got to respect that entrepreneurial spirit, right? Is
Yeah.
that the moral of this
I think that's
story?
the moral of the story is, I guess, just maybe, I don't know, creep check your marketing campaigns. I don't know how you could do that. Obviously the thing Tom's were doing was still fantastic, still brilliant, but it was just this like crazy, like
People are going to capitalize on it.
it was just mad, just absolutely mad.
So speaking of good marketing campaigns, Tom's obviously has great values as a company.
Creeps excluded.
Yeah.
There are two campaigns that I looked into when we spoke about this podcast topic. And the first one is a Dove campaign that was run in 2015.
Yeah, usually a pretty good company.
Yeah, and they're very for women self-care and loving your own body.
Yeah.
And there was an ad which basically came across racist, and we'll show it. Started off with a black woman, and then she takes a top off and it reveals a white woman underneath. And it's basically showing the woman use Dove, and this is the before and after.
Right.
And it's kind of, there's no, like, use the same person. Why is there need to... And it came, there was so much backlash from the ad, and it's from a company that's very ethical and very, their values are at the core of everything that they do. And currently they still do that, and they're a great brand. But this ad had such backlash for all of their audience. It was crazy.
It is a big misstep.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just ill-judged. I don't think it came from a bad place, right? Because I think that where you said it's the effect of having Dove, I think that's what's been inferred by it. I don't think that's the campaign message, right?
It can't be, can it? It's you know, who in that meeting would have pitched that?
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
That perceived meaning.
Yeah.
And everyone had gone,
Yeah.
I think this is great. It's got to have been a stupid like misstep.
Yeah.
It has to be.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And the second poor campaign was from VW.
Yeah.
But yeah, from 2009 to 2015, for their diesel cars, they ran the ads as clean diesel.
Yeah.
And that their cars were great for the environment, and they were better than all of the diesels, because obviously diesels aren't great for the environment.
It's terrible for the environment. But what's great that's come out of it is you now get plagued with ads which are like, have you been sold a diesel car from 2009 onwards?
Yeah. If you don't know, the campaign's basically made out these cars were clean diesels, but they were misrunning tests, basically.
Yeah.
They created a tool that kind of skipped over a few things on their cars, which made out they were amazing for the planet. And there was actually 40% higher than industry like standards, which basically means they were terrible for the environment.
Yeah.
And VW is a reputable brand. They create great cars, but this created such a backlash for the company, especially because they're not ethically promoting this car.
Yeah.
And it's also not ethically right for the environment. It's going against all of their morals and all of their values.
Yeah. So like with that, with all the ones that we've spoken about, it's like, I think there has to be this like sliding scale, case by case point where which you or other companies, other creatives, anyone that's trying to work with these companies makes per project case.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you can just do like a blanket, like would we or would we not work with them? Is this a bad or is this a good company based on these, like maybe it's a marketing misstep? I think the Dove one has to be a marketing misstep.
Yeah.
The other one feels like it's a intentional marketing misstep, which is worse, obviously. They're purposefully, like you say, cocking up these tests and stuff.
Yeah.
Just because like we could take the ethics even further and say just every car company. Every car company is unethical in the sense that it's contributing to climate change. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, the better version of that is bikes. But then let's look at how these bikes are made. What's the ethical sourcing like chain to get all these parts to make the bikes?
Yeah.
I think everything just goes on. And that doesn't mean because it becomes this horrible, cynical, nihilist like point of view, you don't do anything, still do something.
Yeah.
But I think you have to look at everything from like a proper like individual project case point of view.
Yeah.
There's a local creative called Mare Perkins who does lots of animation for like
she's great.
climate change and stuff. And I can't remember, and I don't know if she's listening, but I can't remember the exact thing that she does, but she basically only works with certain companies that are ethical. Yeah. And when I read that, I thought, this is great. This is really good. Because it didn't feel like a huge blanket thing, because obviously, like I say, when you drill down into everything, certain companies will have, little like missteps, or they fuck up something, so they then might become unethical in your eyes. I can't remember what it was, but she had this thing. Check it out. Mare Perkins, she does animation. Yeah. She's a competitor, but check her out.
We had a client similar and moved a lot of hosting and development stuff to someone who they're very green, but they also promote a lot of female entrepreneurships and business women, which is great. I love that stuff. I also think you can change your mind as you discover more things. Like I mentioned cigarettes being a big, tentpole advertising marketing thing at one point. then it turned out it just kills everyone. So people on against that. Interestingly, alcohol isn't as banned or anything like that, because that ruins just as many lives in a different way. But people still, they're sort of the tent pole in a lot of marketing advertising agencies, like in their goals, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. Well, we spoke loads about BrewDog earlier, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like that's what I mean. That's why I think like it's just such a. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to solve ethics in this BriightCast. Oh, sorry for anyone listening who thought we were going to solve any ethical
we should have
problems.
probably said that at the start.
We'll flag it.
We're
flag
optimistic.
It. Yeah, exactly. It's such a huge grey area, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
like it was it the comedian Mark Watson who I think he slagged off loads of people who were like promoting certain things. He said that it was unethical, and then he was like the face behind. Was it Bulmer's cider or something?
Strongbow,
like that?
I think.
Was it Strongbow?
Yeah,
Okay, it was
yeah.
cider, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it's just like, like what do you do? Like, is it unethical to then promote that? I think if we got targeted by Guinness, you're drinking Guinness right now, we'd love to do a Guinness advert.
Yeah.
I love Guinness.
Yeah.
But
Even just free Guinness, I'd be happy with.
Yeah, maybe we just go out and buy Guinness.
Pay us in Guinness.
But if somebody, if Guinness approached us to do an ad for them, we'd do it. But 100%, I see the ethical dilemma in that with alcohol ruins lives. Alcohol ruins families. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, it's a massive drain on the NHS. But I see that, there are these, like we keep saying, these grey areas and these things that you have to...
It's like we had a conversation with another business director recently, and they're doing some work for a company that are using medicinal cannabis, and they're legalising certain parts of it. But it's also the ethical standpoint of that. Like, there's so much research done into how cannabis can help cancer patients and other patients overcome certain health issues. But at the same time, it's got such a negative connotation for so many people.
Yeah.
Is it ethical for you to market that? It is, that's like Drew, you said,
Yeah.
the sliding scale of good and bad.
Yeah, it's the good place thing, isn't it? It's the good place thing where there are, unfortunately, in this massive, like, globalized world economy that we live in, every single thing you do has a negative impact. And every positive thing you do may also, unfortunately, have a negative impact involved within it. Yeah. And that's not to say to not do good. Constantly do good and try and make good ethical choices on who you work with, on the projects or the campaigns that you undertake. If there was this like supercomputer or whatever they have to calculate everything within the good place, it will find all of these negative things in. Like, you've made, you've just donated £1 million to charity, but you did it on an iPhone, and unfortunately, Apple was found to use child labour and stuff like that. Those kinds of examples. So I think, it is this like, if anyone hasn't seen A Good Place is a great show for ethics to hear about ethics.
And the creator Michael Schur has written a book called, I think it's Perfect,
right?
But it's about like the philosophical things you have to weigh up to live a perfect life. I think that's the title of it.
And I think that's probably a good place to wrap it up. So I think it's been a messy BriightCast in the sense that we've spoken a lot about ethics, but everything feels kind of like vague and grey. But I think that just is ethics.
Yeah, it is,
I don't think there's a way we can neatly tie up this conversation, or we can, succinctly deliver on some kind of overall thought that you could apply to every single ethical situation, every single ethical marketing situation, I might say. So, I think shared some good tips, some good examples.
It's an important topic. It should probably be introduced into your qualifying criteria on who to work with, and learn and grow and do good.
Yeah. So on that note, Mackie's on me.
Rule of three.
That's binding.